cool, but otherwise we're not going to hear you.
Oh, yeah, unmuted there, Steve. Welcome, everyone, to the Author's Quill. I hope everyone's having a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on a big, beautiful, cute planet. It's always fun to come out and talk with y'all every Saturday. I know for my Australian friends, it's early morning over there on Sunday, so happy Sunday. Hope things are going well. Remember, when you get the lotto numbers, to send them to John and I. We'd like to get them before they come out here. That would be a good thing. No, Kirby, that's an ongoing joke for years because they're always ahead of us in time. Always one day ahead. Well, not always, but most of the time. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. I see we have Melissa up there. There's Bill and there's Steve over there in the corner. Why is Steve muted? It does say you're muted. Somewhere around there's a little button that you got pushed down somewhere, Steve. It's just a mute. It's just simple mute, but I don't know where it is.
Bottom of your screen, Steve.
It's
there you go.
Hey. Okay. Sorry about that. Got carried away there on its goofiness. But anyway, welcome to the Author's Quill, everybody. I hope all of y'all are having a good day. John's a little worried because he might have to deal with some crazy one for the next 4 years. But other than that, the rest of us are probably okay.
I'm going to turn your lights so we can see what this dark face, this monster face really looks like.
Can I use this one? Let's see.
Ah.
Oh, nope, that ain't it. I'll have to get that. When I get up, when we get talking, I'll turn down the big one.
Okay, good.
Well, because we done switch cameras now. This thing's got the whole, you see, even, where's it at? That's somewhere back there, the picture's in. Or is it? Usually it's in it with a new camera. What the hell happened?
No.
I don't know what happened. Oh, okay. That's what happened. It might help if I actually we'll have to move this somewhere else out there. But enough about all of that. So we got all three, and then look at Bill. Bill's always getting in some kind of trouble. I'm telling you. Where you at right now, Bill? You at home or home
this
where?
Is my office.
No, but home where? What part of the world are you in?
Atlanta.
That's right.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, I forgot you up there where my sister is. I forgot about that. Oh, man. So
home of Dragon Con, which I'm at a lot.
So you must be getting a ton of rain right now. Because it's been raining like down here for 2 weeks.
Not this week, but we had 11 inches in 7 days not long ago, which caught us up. Our drought's over.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's going to get worse. We're just getting started for the summertime rain. But I was literally, my yard's been under 3 or 4 inches of water for off and on for 2 weeks now. And we got the golf pushing in the backyard right now. So we got about 10 or 12 inches of golf water in the backyard. Well, it goes all the way to the front yard, actually. It's a little weird to live.
And then we got a new face here that I just met as we were waiting to start the show, Melissa. So she's a science fiction and fantasy author?
Yes, sir.
So I guess I just learned a little bit about you because I learned about you from Bill introducing, I guess he connected you up originally with Steve because he's the one that introduced us to Steve. Mm-hmm. And then now because of this, now we're meeting you, which is great. So it's always nice when you have 4 crusty guys to have a lovely lady as part of the mixture. Makes a big difference.
Yes, because it's a scary bunch right here, man.
I am very sweet and innocent. Totally.
I'm not claiming that. I'm just saying very lovely. I just
thank you. Thank you.
It gets a little strange. So what got you into writing, Melissa? I mean, what was it that drug you in there?
Oh my God.
You were one of the kids that scribbled all over things, right? Look, I notice a lot of artists, both illustrators and authors, have a tendency to scribble on things that they shouldn't. It's the best way I can say that.
Well, honestly, okay, so I have always had like voices and characters and fun things going on in my head because I got bored in school easily, right? But it wasn't until I was active duty Air Force. I was placed on a medical hold when I was in the middle of pilot training. And I got stuck up at the front office of the group commander. And I had to look busy. all the time, even if I
Sure.
had nothing to do.
Oh, I know that feeling. Yeah, I know. You have
So
to.
don't tell the Air Force, but I started writing my first book, which, to be clear, will never see the light of day. While I was sitting up at the front office looking busy, and just kind of spiraled from there.
Well, people don't read. One of my friends asked me about that one time. He said, I never heard you talk about downtime in the service. I said, believe it or not, there was a lot of hurry up and wait in the military.
That's
He's
kind
like,
of the rule.
yeah. He said, what do you mean? I was like, oh, man. And they screaming, holler. And then all of a sudden you're just sitting there for hours and days on it. He's like, you're kidding, right? I said, no, that's part of being in the military.
That's what we sell so many books when we go to like Fort Irwin, to the various bases there. They have training exercises at the quote unquote the Dust Bowl. So Sarah will go out there and they'll sell in a day 100 books because they go out there. They like the paperback so they can fit into their uniform somewhere. And they just, when they go out there and they wait, and then they can read.
Yep.
So
especially on deployment, you read a lot.
Yeah.
And look out. I mean,
Where you going?
Yeah.
You gonna come back? Come on.
Joe, we hear you. Whatever is happening there.
Yes, I was talking to myself. Actually, I was talking to the dog. I was doing that so y'all could actually see
So-
my face.
Melissa, how are you involved with Steve?
This random person named Bill Fawcett called me up one day. I'd never heard of him before in my life. He's like, hey, you, do you want to write a book with this guy named S.M. Stirling? I don't know if you've heard of him. I'm like, there might have been shrieking. My kids might have wondered what was wrong with me. The dogs might have howled,
So which of Steve Stirling's books were you familiar with?
Oh, I was actually reading, I think it was an E-Arc at the time, but I was reading, was it Winds of Fate at the time? So I was reading his alt history series, and then Bill calls about a future continuation of the series. And I'm like, the one that's on my phone right now, the one I'm reading. Okay, sure.
Well,
Yeah,
that's pretty
sounds-
cool.
Sounds very, very cool and not at all something I should be incredibly excited about.
So when did the relationship start then?
Which one?
With Steve,
Scary.
that we're talking about.
So actually, I didn't get a chance to meet Steve until last year's Dragon Con, right? Which was for me really cool because I'm very, very calm when I meet literary heroes. I didn't fangirl, I don't think, Steve. I was very professional and collected. Oh no, I can't hear Steve.
What's up?
Steve, we don't hear you.
That's what he's doing. He's like, he's frustrated.
Are you sure your microphone's on? Connected.
He's not muted.
Select mic. Hit the little up arrow.
Technology.
Well, it's weird because depending on what you use your mics for, sometimes they're prioritized in other places. So it says there's a setting button at the bottom of the page. It looks like a little gear. If you click on that gear, it's going to open up. There's going to be a spot that says audio. You can click on it. And if you're talking, you'll see a green line moving. If that green line's not moving, there's a drop-down box. Usually you can select what mic you need. Usually. It's because sometimes they just prioritize to other places. I don't know why they do that. And this one does it, and this one's just designed just to be on Stringo. So all this computer's job is just for me to talk on. All the other the hard work computers are over there. This is the junk computer that we talk on. No, we still can't hear you, Steve. I wonder what's up.
So Bill's calling Steve
Yeah.
right now.
If you need me to walk him through it, Bill, I'll walk you through it. Let me know. It's,
So Melissa, how long have you been a published author?
Okay, so I actually was doing, all right, I have a rule, no time math because it makes me feel old, but I actually did time math the other day. And to be clear, I'm an accountant. I do math all the time, but time math is different. My first novel was published in February of 22.
Oh, that's
And,
not
Yep,
okay,
I had a
good.
couple of short stories in the year before that with Chris Kennedy Publishing. And then I had my first 11 novels were published with Chris Kennedy Publishing, CKP. And my 12th, Rise from Ruin, was picked up by Bain.
Okay, could you hear me now?
Oh yeah, we got you. Sound great, baby. Woo!
Okay, good.
Sounding good, Steve. Sounding good.
Yeah,
Yay,
well, what I
technology.
actually said was that, she dropped to her knees and beat her head on the floor in front of my feet when we met at Dragon Con last night.
You
And-
weren't supposed to tell anybody that, Steve. Gosh. Rude.
So are
Let
you
the
going to be
truth
at Dragon Con this year, Melissa?
Yes.
She was very cool.
Good. And then Steve, you're going to be at Dragon Con as well again?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
Go every year.
Actually, in 2 weeks, Melissa was there, and Steve is the guest of honor at LibertyCon in Chattanooga, too. All three of us will be there.
Oh,
It's gonna be
good.
so much fun.
You should come out. Joe would like it. There's a lot of shooting.
Don't start. It's
In what sense, Bill? In what sense of shooting?
With large caliber, mostly.
yeah,
Range
big
day.
ones. I was thinking that I haven't been out to the range in a couple of months. I've been
In 2 weeks, I'm going to, with Emily, I'm going to get to don on my cowboy hat and my boots and going to the Western Riders of America annual conference. And looking forward to that. I love any opportunity to don my cowboy gear.
Actually, I remember once I was on an exercise and I was lying on my back with my FN clutched to my chest. And this regular came along and said, "Turn over, I can see your face, bang, bang." And then he laughed. So,
oh, Lord, yeah.
Wow. How rude. So Melissa, so you like writing alternate history, or are you more into like fantasy type stuff, or?
So I am not a writer of alt history. All respect to the people that can write it. I really am not great at remembering history at all. Bill will be like, "Hey, you remember this, blah, blah, blah." I'm like Googling frantically. Yeah, totally. I remember that. I learned about it in school, time math years ago. No, I really love, my first loves are sci-fi and fantasy, full stop. I discovered urban fantasy from Jim Butcher and, Patricia Briggs and Alona Andrews. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. But most of what I write is military fantasy, military sci-fi, or at least adjacent to that with mercenary units and whatnot.
Well, I know a couple of the writers of the Future Winners who are also ex-military wrote a lot. Matter of fact, some of the interrogators that we've had on use it as therapy because they were interrogators in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, so they write as therapy. And the story's really good. I mean, I've read them, but it's interesting how people from the military kind of incorporate that into writing. I always found it fascinating because being ex-military myself, it's always interesting to see how we deal with civilian life.
my dad was a professional soldier from 1939 to 1963.
You know what I'm talking about.
And my eldest brother attended Royal Military College in Canada, and two of the remaining brothers were fighter pilots. And I was in, as I said, the Canadian equivalent of the National Guard, the militia it's called, or at least it was back then. And my grandfather fought in the Boer War. And according to family legend, his grandfather fought in the Crimea. So,
And to contrast that, I am the first person in my family to serve, and only.
That's cool. That's cool. It's
Now, Steve, isn't your Rome? Why don't you tell us your military? Why she's talking military since she's doing a sequel to your current series, which is about. Can you hear me, Steve?
it includes battles, but it's not centered on them. Yeah, it's well, as I recall, you suggested Rome, and I picked it up and ran with it, Bill.
Yeah, 4 letters, and suddenly he's out in the corner with a contract.
Yeah. I've always been fascinated by Roman history, and Marcus Aurelius is one of my the centers of my interest. And the Roman Empire reached its peak in the late 2nd century, and then it was all downhill from there. The crisis of the 3rd century, breakups, barbarian invasions, Gothic pirates raiding Crete, that actually happened. And the opportunity to sort of like correct things was very, very, very tempting. So I did.
I don't know. All those things in history are interesting to start off with. So.
Yeah. So I had five American historians decoyed to the neighborhood of Vienna by an Austrian who'd invented a time machine. And he told them that he had a means of securely and non-intrusively dating any historical artifact, which would be paradise for archaeologists and very important for historians as well. So they all came out, but World War III started. This was in 2032. World War III started while they were there, and they got sent back to 165 CE. And, well, the professor, the Austrian professor, mostly went back to 165 CE, minus his legs from the mid-thigh down.
Well, that was like crazy. It was just like a microsecond before their building destroyed. It went click and they made it.
Yeah. It was a fraction of a second before the blast wave from the fusion bomb hit the laboratory building. The Austrian professor slightly miscalculated.
The fun with you know they have prime directive, don't change history and things, except not in this one, right, Steve?
No, because the world just blew itself up, and
can't do any worse than that.
I can remember when I was 9 years old, my father packing the car for a trip to our fallout shelter. He was going to be in the national shelter because he was a wing commander in the Air Force at the time, and he said he had no chance of. He told me later that he had no chance of surviving because he knew that it was targeted, and so we were going to go off to a farm where we built a fallout shelter underneath. It later flooded, but what the heck. And so I remember that vividly. And, you know, wars often start because of accidents. Like World War I started because of an accident. Franz Ferdinand was the heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary, and he was deeply convinced that anything that risked war with Russia would doom the Habsburg dynasty, so he was against it. And then he went to Sarajevo, and a bunch of Serb nitwits, all of them under the age of 18, because the Austrians didn't execute people under 18, were shanghaied to Sarajevo by the head of the Black Hand. His code name was Apis, but he was actually Dragovic, and he was the head of the Serbian military intelligence. And he sent them there, but I don't think he expected them to succeed, because one of them just decamped as soon as they got back to Bosnia-Herzegovina. And then they threw a bomb at his car, at Franz Ferdinand's car. He was there with his wife, Sophie, and it missed and landed in the car behind them in the parade, injuring several people. And then after lunch, Franz Ferdinand wanted to go to the hospital to check on the people who'd been injured. And his driver took a wrong turn, drove down to the river, found there was no bridge at that road, backed up and stalled the car just as Gavrila Princip was coming out of the place he'd mooched off to have lunch after the failure of the first attempt. And he was there, and so he pulled out his pistol and shot him and his wife. It was a series of low probability accidents bouncing off each other. So that's why I exist, because my mother's father was gassed at Passchendaele in 1917, and he met my grandmother, who was a VAD, Volunteer Auxiliary Detachment nurse, in a convalescent home. So they married, and their families didn't like it because they were 3 social grades apart, and in Britain in those days that was a big deal. So my grandmother told me that they got an atlas and looked for the place furthest from England. they could find, and that was Peru. So they moved to Peru in 1918, and that's where my mother and my aunt grew up. And
Wow.
my grandmother was gorgeous. I've seen pictures of her as a young woman, and she was just superb. And she was the most useless person I have ever met. The only productive thing she ever did was volunteer for the VAD nursing program, and she did that because Zeppelins bombed her in London, and she remembered looking up and catching the Zeppelins in the beams of the searchlights, and so she volunteered. And at the age of 11, my mother was given charge of the household in Peru, which means she mostly hung out in the kitchen with the cook. She was a very good cook too. I mean, my mother, Peruvian style, and that's how my mother's father and mother met. And my father's mother was the youngest of 13 on a dairy farm in northern Wiltshire in England, and she was the youngest of 13, so she had no prospects. They owned the farm, which was rare at the time, but the eldest son was going to inherit, and two of her sisters married local farmers, and the rest had to shift for themselves. So some relatives of theirs in Boston said they could get her a job. So she was on her way to Boston, but the ship ran into an iceberg in 1912 in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. It wasn't the Titanic. And everyone was rescued, and they were all taken to St. John's, and she was put up at a hotel, and she met the son of the guy who owned the hotel, and they fell for each other, and so she married there. And that's why I exist. So,
a series of odd coincidences in history.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Fascinating.
if you look at any big event in history, you find that it's the result of a lot of odd coincidences. For example, Prussia unified Germany in the 1860s and 1871 after they beat France. But the reason Prussia existed was because 100 years earlier, the Tsarina of Russia, who hated Frederick the Great, died at 52 of some unknown ailment. And her son was a besotted Frederick the Great fanboy. No, not her son, her nephew, the heir to the throne, was a besotted Frederick the Great fanboy. So he pulled Russia out of the war. Prussia was on its last legs at the time, and there was nothing Frederick could do about it, and it would have been destroyed, and they were going to restrict him to Mecklenburg and make him Duke of Mecklenburg and watch him carefully after that. So Germany was unified because the Tsarina of Russia died at 52 of some unknown ailment. Without that, Germany wouldn't have been unified, or maybe the Austrians would have done it, but that wouldn't have worked very well because nothing the Austrians did worked well. And if you look at any big event, you find the same things. For example, Columbus discovered America. Now, Columbus had mistranslated several volumes on the diameter of the Earth. The Greeks figured out the diameter of the Earth and that the Earth was round back in pre-Christian times. And Columbus mistranslated it. So he underestimated the diameter of the Earth by about a third. So he thought he could get to China by sailing west.
Mm-hmm.
And he discovered the Caribbean islands and thought they were off the coast of Japan to his right up until the day he died. And if the Americas hadn't been in the way, his crew would have died of thirst about a third of the way across the Pacific. But he managed to convince the Spanish monarchs that they should back him. So you find stuff like that all the time.
So how do you what did they decide to do if if the world was going to blow itself up?
Well, they decided to let Rome unify the world. They figured that if the world was unified, it wouldn't have a nuclear war, which is logical. and they started to introduce stuff into Rome. They had a ton of goods that the Austrian professor had accumulated, books, working scale models of machinery and that sort of thing. So, and lots of money. They ordered Roman coins from a place in Italy that makes them, and they had a lot of synthetic gemstones, which the Romans couldn't tell from the real thing. So they get discovered by a Jewish merchant who is, fortunately for them, ethical and resists the temptation to slit their throats and take all their stuff. And they introduce stuff, gunpowder, for example. Arthur Vandenberg, who is the leader of the party, he gets called Artorius in Rome.
I love this character.
Yeah, Artorius. It means bear, basically, and he is sort of bear-like. And he introduces stuff, starting with a wheelbarrow. You know, the Romans didn't have wheelbarrows. That was invented in China about a century later. And if you want to move heavy loads short distances, wheelbarrows are a great invention. But it's obvious, and it looks obvious to us, but it wasn't invented until the 4th century AD. So people didn't make inventions then because they didn't have the concept of developing things, making inventions, technological progress. They were vaguely aware that they made tools out of iron and their ancestors had made them out of bronze. But Romans were an intensely practical people. They'd copy anything and then they'd run with it. So they copy what the Americans introduce.
I get it. Now, one thing, this is what we have here. This is like the author's Quil. So one of the things I'm curious for yourself, Melissa, one of the things I like to ask authors when they're first on is your journey to becoming, because a lot of people listening are aspiring writers themselves. You know, like I love to write, but I can't because, and they give some lame excuse.
Yeah, that's why I can't write. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So for yourself, like, so you have military, you're a mom of 2 or 3?
Oh, no, just 2. 2 is plenty.
Okay, good. So how did you get it to become yourself, you know, a writer as well as having a career, becoming a mom, and just to be able to do that and to be able to create, you know, words in a story that makes sense, not just, you know, gobbledygook. So what's your journey and how you did that?
Well, first of all, the power of mocha or caffeine is wonderful when dealing with kids, a full-time job, a husband who occasionally expects me to pay attention to him, and writing. But really, more than anything, what got me started was what I lovingly call the power of friendship. It is not just for Saturday morning cartoons. You don't do anything on your own, whether we're talking writing or this life, right? Casey Moores is my oldest friend. We have been friends since I was a baby lieutenant stationed at Moody Air Force Base. And I was in this man's wedding as a bridesmaid. Like, that's how close we are. And then as what happens when life takes over, I didn't hear from him for like 3 or 4 years. Out of nowhere, he's like, "Hey, Melissa, I've got a short story that I'm going to submit for blah, blah, blah. Can you read it for me?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then it progressed from there. Like, "Hey, have you heard of this NaNoWriMo thing?" I'm like, "Nano what? No, what? You write 50,000 words or a novel in the month of November." That was a thing. I'm like, "Sounds like fun." And then he was like, "Hey, so Chris Kennedy Publishing has this open call for an anthology. It's urban fantasy. You want to submit a story?" I'm like, "I'll give it a try. When's it due?" 2 weeks. My story was accepted, though. So really, that's how I got my start. I got my start because of the power of friendship, because of somebody encouraging me to write. Because I was already doing that, right? I was already creating stories, whether it was in my head or on the laptop, and getting out there and making friends who also want to write is super helpful. Having that support network and having people that are in your corner that encourage you. But really, at the end of the day, if you don't want to do this, you're not going to. Like, you can say, "Oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it." if you don't want it, you're never going to do it. So decide what you want out of writing. If it's just going to be a fun hobby, freaking awesome. Do that. If you want this to be a career, okay, cool. Figure out how to manage that work-life balance, because I gave up a lot of free time because I at this point I have 2 full-time jobs and kids and a puppy.
Right. I would just sell the kids to the Arabs and retire. So.
Yeah.
I said I would just sell the kids to the Arabs and retire.
Joe, she doesn't know you yet. Give her a chance to meet you. Give it like a couple shows.
It's a quick, bam, bam, you're good, you're comfortable, $2 million in the bank, know what kids are being. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Joe,
I thought about it.
You're setting a bad example.
I'm just saying, I'd give them money. I'd go
Most writers don't make a living at it.
No,
that's true.
Writers don't make a living at it. I've been full-time since ’88, but I lucked out.
I think it has something more to do with talent and skill than luck. But anyway, I'll let you.
Oh no.
We'll all agree.
I'm a firm believer that person makes their own luck. You make your luck by being
Need luck. And
Okay, I'm getting out my soapbox. Luck, 100% plays a part. Luck, timing, hard work, talent. I met Bill because of essentially luck. So LibertyCon has a thing where like newbies can get a 15-minute mentoring session with Bill Fawcett. And I'm like, that sounds amazing. Yes, I will sign up for that. And we talked for our 15 minutes, and then the next appointment, they didn't show up. So I got to talk to Bill for 30 minutes, and we talked about military stuff, and it was fantastic. And then he was like, hey, so I'm writing this Blood and Armor series with CKP, with Casey Moores. And I'm like, yes, I've read them already because I'm a reader for Casey. We read each other's stuff.
Casey'd already recommended her.
Yep. And then within 30 minutes, like I walk out a door and there's Bill and Chris Kennedy going, yes, we want you to write the next book in the Blood and Armor series with Casey. Again, y'all, luck, timing, skill, hard work, like all of it plays a factor.
Yeah. And
all right, I'm off my soapbox.
There are certain things that all writers have, and one of them is long, carefully scripted, colorful daydreams. That's necessary but not sufficient. But I was surprised to find out that a lot of people don't have long, colorful, scripted daydreams.
They don't?
No, they don't.
That's weird.
At least half of people don't.
No, we would think y'all were weird, actually.
In my case, I think it's an opportunity. The advice I give a new writer is don't pass up any opportunity to write. I wasn't writing books. I wasn't writing short stories. I was writing little things for Dragon magazine and D&D when it was first starting. And as it grew, my writing grew longer, and I was writing whole articles and things. And a publisher in New York, Ace, saw that and said, hey, we need someone to do these books. And because I had been doing all these game-related things, and there were only so many, it actually gave me a chance to write and learn how to write on their dime, which was a wonderful event. And I wrote several Chosen Path and other books for Ace after that. I think the other reason they gave it to me is dating an editor, and they wanted me to work instead of going out with her all the time because it was interfering with her work. But that was different since I didn't marry her. But it's a case of if you have an opportunity to write, take it, whether it's for Concrete Magazine, for Dungeons and Dragons, or whatever, and you can grow from it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you learn to write by writing.
Exactly.
It's like any other muscle. You have to use it and you have to work on it, or it's never going to develop.
Yeah. Like in high school, when I was 16, there was a class with 4 guys and the teacher, and he said, you're going to write a novel this year. And I did. And it was terrible. God, it was awful. Burroughs pastiche, crossed with Lay Brackett. And I wasn't up to either of their standards, but I learned a lot doing it. And you learn by writing. My first actual published novel, I carefully restricted myself to 2 viewpoint characters and a week's duration. And that was a good idea at the time. But then excuse me, then I gradually got more ambitious.
Yeah, we always teach in our writing only one suspension of disbelief.
Mhm.
Don't try and do it. When my first book, I always learned that. I always bring that up. My first book was the high school. I had a year of special English, and they said, "Write, you're going to write for us." My first attempt at it was what I call now a kitchen sink book. I had everything I'd ever liked in all of fantasy in the first chapter.
I love it.
And the teacher looked at it and went, "No, no, no, write about just this. Just tell me about his horse, nothing else."
Yeah. Yeah. You can cram a lot of stuff into a book, but you have to develop the technique to do it.
Yeah. So now one thing for people listening, I'm not sure how familiar you are, Melissa, but one of the things that I run is called Writers of the Future. It was a contest created by Owen Hubbard in '83.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you're familiar with it?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever enter it when you were starting off, or?
No, by the time I learned about it, because I think I first learned about it when I went to Superstars out in Colorado.
Colorado, yeah.
Yeah. I think I actually met you once, very briefly. By the time I heard about it, I was already published, so I wasn't eligible. But I think it's a great thing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's something that's been going on. We just had year 42. Bill's wife Jody is the coordinating judge.
Yeah, she is.
For the writer, and Steve has been a judge now for what, half a dozen years?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it started like the first book was published in '85, but you had like some of the most amazing writers at that time that were the first judges. We had Aldous Budrus was the one that came on board, as the first coordinating judge.
I love that cover.
Yes,
There we go.
So pretty. The cover art for that one is gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah. This year
we were showing all the dragons last night that I hear somebody's into. So
yeah, we had Cirello. Cirello was on the show last week. He's the one that did this cover art for this book here. And Orson Scott Card wrote the story for that cover art, which is one thing that's really fun that we do is we have our judges, writer judges, or the illustrator judges will do the cover art each year. And then another judge, writer judge, then writes a story for that. We have our 12 writer winners and 12 illustrator winners that get published in there, but it's continuing to grow. And each year we're tasked how to make it better. And we seem to be able to do that each year. And it's a lot of fun. The judging is all done blind. So we got, people like Steve and Jody. Jody's one that goes through, and after the first reader, she selects who are the finalists, and those get ferried out to the various judges for their choice of like first, second, and third. Mm-hmm. So there's 12 winners every quarter, or 12 winners every year, and it's been something that's been going really good. And you mentioned that Superstars. Mm-hmm. That's where I've been there for multiple years now, and enjoy going out there. And because Kevin, all the original creators of Superstars mm-hmm. were originally judges for Writers of the Future, and wanted to take what was happening to the 12 winners and expand that base of who could get this type of material. So that's how they started it, because you got Brandon Sanderson, mm-hmm. Dave Farland,
Eric Flint,
Jay Anderson.
Yeah.
Kevin Anderson.
Mesta. So all these judges for the contest are the ones that created this contest, or created this Superstars writing conference, which is just an amazing thing, which is now up to 1,500 people attend, or no, sorry, 500 people or so attend. Each are very, very specialized mm-hmm. training things that they do, which is great. So you've been there a couple times?
I was there twice. It's been a couple of years. Way too busy with day job and kids, but it is a very cool event, and it's very, like you said, it's small. It's small, so the attendees get FaceTime, one-on-one time, or small group time with the guest lecturers, with the authors, with the professionals in the industry, and it's very well done.
Yeah, Chris Kennedy. You mentioned him.
Yes.
That's what I was wondering. Have you been there before? Because he's definitely a major player there at that.
That's actually where the 15-minute mentor program got invented. I had a free day, and they've used it with other people since. But that's how it actually started. It was out at
Wow.
Superstars.
That's great.
And we transported it to other cons from there.
That's a good
Different
legacy.
Very one-on-one, and they can do it.
Yeah.
Different writers have different ways of writing. For example, I did a collaboration with Dave Drake, and he gave me a 30,000 word outline for the book. And it was actually very relaxing. I didn't have to figure out the plot. I could just write it. And I did a collaboration with Anne McCaffrey, and she sent me a 2-page outline.
Okay. I had to, that would have been a fangirl moment for me. That is amazing.
Yeah. And, Kipling, I think, once said there are 99 ways of construing tribal lays, and every single one of them is right.
Yeah.
It's the final product that matters, not the way you get there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one thing that's really nice about Rise of the Future too, and Bill has seen this as well, where we have all the judges come and speak, and so you've got Tim Powers and Jody do the primary workshop, but then all these judges come in and talk, and there's just, you got that 90 ways. There's all kinds of things that they're taught, and the winners just, it's like they unhinge their jaw and just stick that fire hose and then take all these notes, and at some point along their career, that's what they're referring to as they get more and more experience.
Mm-hmm.
But some take a long time to write something, and then you got the Kevin Andersons and the Dean Wesley Smiths that are very fast, and everything in between on writing stuff, and whatever works for you is what works for you, and you can take a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of that and make your own way. These are things that have worked, that have proven successful with all the different judges, which makes it really, really good.
Yeah, it was fun last year to listen. I sat in for several hours, and one of the judges came on and explained how to outline your book and have everything structured. The next one came on and said, I'm a pantser, I just write, and here's how you do that. And it was like, all right, we've now taught them two completely conflicting styles. We're going to ruin these kids, but they'll learn.
Yeah, but what was always fun is when Jody and Tim would get up there talking about conventions and self-promotion. Jody's a firm believer going to conventions and doing that thing and making yourself very visible. And Tim's like, no, I'll just write my book and let somebody else take care of that for me. And it's almost within the same, one breath ends, the next breath begins, and they get the total opposite of a perspective. But that's whatever works for you is what you can go with. It's just, you're not locked into, this is how you are a writer.
Yeah.
Well, and what works for you for one project, it might be completely different for the next project. It all depends on what you're writing, who you're writing with, if it's a co-author situation, what your brain is doing, because our brains are so weird. And sometimes I can write a book. I've written a book in 5 weeks. I have also written a book in 3.5, 4 months. Like, it depends on what's going on in your real life too. So give yourself grace.
Yeah. Well, one thing I think that maybe everybody can agree with is, like, senior datum to anything is you got to sit down and write. You can't succumb to the bait of, like, I can't write right now. You got to write. You just got to, some writers, like, if it's your living, it's like liken it to a medical professional. Like, well, I don't feel like I can do my surgeries today, so reschedule, please. It's not, I'm not up for it today. It's like, if your job is writer, then you write, and that's it's like, if you have to type 3 pages of garbage until it starts clicking and you start rolling, but a writer writes, and that's your job.
Edit a blank page. Like, you can always edit your hot garbage. You can't edit nothing.
Right. And some people get into the artiste, it's and I mean, I don't write books. I haven't written books. I write a lot of publicity. I write a lot of articles. And then obviously I have my podcast that takes a lot of research to put together. But to do anything, you got to start. And sometimes it's like, well, I just write a bunch of stuff and then, okay, Good. I start writing. Let's
so-
delete that and start again.
Well, listen, what is your process? I mean, I know a lot of authors, and I mean, like Nick, he's a 9 to 5 writer. He gets up every morning, gets his coffee, goes in his office, shuts his door, tells the kids go do whatever, and goes to write and comes out lunch, gets lunch, goes back, writes till 5. He's got 168 books now, and yeah, well, anywhere from 200 to 500 pages of books. So it depends on the book, and it's just all kind of topics. But still, that's how he does it. And I got another friend of mine who's actually makes quite a lot of money. I said, "How do you race?" I don't know. Jay said, "The other morning I woke up 3 o'clock in the morning, had to go to bed." I said, "Oh, you know what? I went and got a computer and wrote about 5,000 words." I was like, "What?" He said, "Then I went to bed." I was
I hate people like that. But anyhow,
I'm like, "What the hell?" He said, "Yeah." And then I got it, and I'm talking to my wife, and she's reading. He said, "I went and wrote another 5,000 words." I'm like, "That's fight me, dude. It's not like I got to say to that."
I usually start slow and then pick up speed towards the end.
Yes,
yeah, everybody has momentum. When an author tells me they're 3/4 through a book, I know 2 things are going to happen as an editor, which I primarily am. One, they're going to lose faith in the book and think it's the worst thing they've ever done. It's called 3/4 book syndrome. And the second thing is they're going to be going faster and faster and faster, and the last quarter of the book's going to take 1/10 of the time as the first quarter.
Momentum.
Just the way it is.
Yeah.
Just getting started. Dr. Asimov was talking about getting started one time. I think it was Lunacon in Newark. And his point was, of course, just start, as John was saying. And he said, someone asked him, "Dr. Asimov, you've 400 and some books at this point. How do you get started on a book?" And he says, "It used to be a sheet of paper. Now it's a screen. And I stare at it until I'm going to write." And I've heard him tell it twice. Once he said, "Until a drop of blood falls on a key, and then I hit that key and I'm started and I just keep writing." The other one was sweat. It was depending how dramatic he was feeling. But his point was just hit the first key and get going.
Yeah.
If you want to be a writer, write.
Yeah.
Oh, I've come to terms with the fact that the first part of my book, the first chapter, the first couple pages, trash. It's always going to be rewritten. I know that I am terrible at starting a book, but I know I can edit it. I know I can fix it and just get going. And I'm so busy with day job, 'cause I have a full-time job and kids and all the things. I write whenever I can. I will be on my phone tapping like a draft email to myself in the middle of a conversation with my husband. And he has come to terms with this. He's like, "Book thoughts, got it."
Yeah. We have one of our winners from a couple of years ago that in UK, he had quite a commute getting into London from wherever he was, and he'd be writing on his phone. And he said he knew there was a problem if whoever was reading over his shoulders stopped reading. He said, "Okay, there's something wrong because they stopped reading what I was writing." So he'd have to go back and edit that. But it was, he just, wherever he could write, he was writing on his phone, whatever. It's like a writer writes.
Mm-hmm.
And you write what they'll ask you or pay you to do, right, Steve?
Yeah. I mean, I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ideas for books.
Mm-hmm.
So I write what they're willing to buy. And it's not a strain because I like all my ideas.
Yeah. Now you're traditional, Steve, and then it sounds like, Melissa, you're fully traditional as well.
I am hybrid. So CKP is considered a small press, and then Bain is trad published. So both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's one thing too that we go over with the winners at the workshop is like you can do we don't use it so much indie, call it self-publishing because you need, you have a whole team there when you do your stuff. So it's called author publish, not self, because you've got to have the different people that work with you. So you can do that going through KDP or through Ingram Spark or whatever program you use there, or go through indie or through traditional. And we have judges from all 3 levels telling you how to do it.
Yeah, publishing has changed a lot since I started out in the 80s. Back then, self-publishing was the sentence of death.
Yeah, it was vanity.
It was vanity press. But now there are lots of small presses, and you can put stuff out by yourself, and sometimes it works.
In fact, Some of the most successful authors have been found by publishers because they were successful indie authors.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Larry Correa was selling 75,000 Monster Hunters when Tony and Tony found him at Bain and made him the lead author for years. And now he's going full circle, and he's become a partner in an independent press, and he's doing his new books for them.
Yep.
Well, Hugh Howey was self-published. He just did it himself, and then he went traditional, and then he decided he didn't like that, so he went back now to do himself because he can do whatever rate he wants to do it, whatever size of book he wants to do, because he likes, he has his own formula of what he does. So yeah, you've got that as well. But one of the things that in 2025, there are over 5 million books published. A lot of that is absolute garbage. But then how do you rise to the surface? How do you rise to the top? And so that's one of the things that Rise of the Future helps with. But then, that's an important thing right now is discoverability. You got the traditional, so you've got the help of the publisher who's taking care of you. But discoverability is even all the more important right now with that many books coming out just last year.
Yeah.
So enter the contest because you get discovered if you're in that book. Did you notice that list of judges he mentioned before? There's a lot more that you'd recognize too.
Yeah, just
Teddy and everybody else.
Yeah, so we've got Kevin Anderson, Scott Card. I'm just reading some of the names. Brian Herbert, Frank Herbert's son, who Frank was also one of the first judges. Nina Hoffman, Hugh Howey, Nancy Kress, Catherine Kurtz, Mark Leslie, Todd McCaffrey, who's the daughter of Anne McCaffrey, who was one of the first judges. Rebecca Mesta, Kevin Anderson's wife. Larry Niven, Jody, Bill's wife. Nydia Okorafor, she was a winner in volume 19. Tim Powers, 3-time World Fantasy winner. Chris Rush, Brandon Sanderson, Rob Sawyer, Bob Silverberg, Dean Wesley Smith, Steve Stirling, who we got right here, and Sean Williams from Australia. Those are just the writer judges. And
the winners of the scary list, including Brandon and Eric and a whole bunch of others.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Sanderson, Eric Flint, and a dozen others who have made it big in the industry. And the marketing you get there is some of the most vital. I've always thought if we taught writers something, and we do a section when Jody does the workshop at DragonCon too, you've got to include a marketing. You've got to teach them how to do an elevator pitch. You've got to tell them how to summarize their story, how to find a publisher.
Yeah. By the time the stories get to me as a judge, they're all well written. So I just pick the one I like.
But this correct, but the one thing that people at this point now, after over 4 decades, is that editors, other publishers know that when someone wins Rise of the Future, it is strictly merit alone that has done that, because I have no say at all. I don't know who it is until after the judges say, it was number 564 and 327 and 956 were the winners this quarter. Then we find out what names are associated with that. Nobody knows until then, because before it goes to the judges, the names are taken off of the stories, or for the illustrator contest, the artwork, and all the judges see is a number assigned to those stories.
Yeah, even Jody doesn't know who wrote what.
Yeah.
In fact, we just went on a vacation with someone who announced to her, by the way, I got an honorable mention or something like that. She's going, what? And he told her stories. Yeah, I remember reading that. And she'd known him for 40 years and didn't know it was his story. Literally, she knows nobody's name going into it.
Yeah.
Although occasionally we do get the 11th time the story submitted, and we sort of guess it by then.
Yeah. I remember one time when at a library show, ALA, I was talking to Joe Hill. I said, "You familiar with Rise of the Future?" Oh, yeah, I got an honorable mention. It's just, after 40, you realize there's a lot of people, there's a lot of water under that bridge. And a lot of people have entered the contest, and be amazed at the number of people that got honorable mentions and, who pro'd out. They couldn't, do it like, it's one of those things that it's one of those, if you're not disqualified because you've already been professionally published, it's one of those things that's great to do, because even as an honorable mention now, I see a press release almost every week where they will say in their bio, I also won honorable mention in Writers of the Future. It's not a reject anymore. It's actually a win because you're in the top 10 percentile. And it's recognized as such.
You're in the top 3 percentile.
Really?
Nice.
Honorable mention? Sure. There's what, about 100 of them? 90 out of 15,000 entries? 14,000 a year?
Well, we never say how many come in, but yeah, there's a lot of entries a year. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
I hear moaning about it a lot.
yeah. But anyway, it's a definite thing that, if you're an honorable mention, that you'll at that point you'll start getting taken out of slush piles by editors if you put that into your pitch letter.
Yeah. Well, the fact of the matter is that editors get a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Their first readers wade through. I knew a first reader at a publishing house once, and there was this 550-page story about an undersized paper bag from Louisville, Kentucky, that was undersized and therefore had self-image problems, and went on a quest to prove themselves. A quest by a paper bag.
They read the whole thing?
They read the first 4 or 5 chapters, or there was the one who'd been shipwrecked on one of the sea islands off the coast of Georgia and was raised by the family pig.
Yeah, there's lots of tripe out there.
Oh God!
You got to go through that in order to find the gems.
That may be real.
But the thing is, a lot of people
In Georgia.
I got a place on Hilton Head. It may be real.
but they don't read what they write. They read the ideal version in their head, and you've got to be able to distance yourself from what you've written and read it objectively. Otherwise, you can't improve.
Mhm.
And a lot of people just can't do that. And there are all sorts of personality quirks. I was in a writers group in Toronto, and one of the ladies in the group would submit a manuscript, and she'd get a letter back, a personal letter from the editor saying, I like this story, and if you will do A, B, and C, resubmit it. And she'd just put it in a drawer and forget about it because she considered that a total rejection. And we all said, no. If they ask for changes, that's acceptance. And she wouldn't.
Jody wrote a story 15 years before she started actually writing. And she'd been writing, but fanfic. And by the way, don't underestimate fanfic is a good way to write.
Yep.
And she sent it to Stan Smith. Stan Smith sent her a note saying, this is good. Give me something else you've written or fix this way. And she was 18 and went, okay. 25 years later, she and Stan Smith are autographing next to each other. And he looks at her name and goes, didn't you give me a story 25 years ago? And why didn't you send me another one? It was pretty good. She was so embarrassed and frustrated. She could have lost her career. So submit those stories. And if you get a personal cover letter, that's 1 in 1,000. Take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
She still cringes when I tell that.
Yeah.
I bet you do.
Well, one thing that we do have for anybody that's uncertain, like how some of these different things that we're saying, is we created an online workshop, which is free to take. And we've got videos of different judges giving their tips and advice on how to do different parts of story creation. We got Jody's got a video in there, and there's Orson Scott Card and Tim Powers and Dave Wolverton, who passed away a few years ago, but he also is in there. Kevin Anderson and Nedia Corafor, and Rob Sawyer. So they all have different videos in there about different pieces of creating story. And then there's I think there's 13 essays by L. Ron Hubbard in there that he wrote to help writers. These were published like in Writer's Digest and those types of publications of the 30s and 40s to help writers. And those are what's used also in the writing workshop. And those give you a lot of tools. And when we did it, Dave Farland said that was what was the big jump in quality of stories, that because we issued it right at the beginning of the pandemic. And so the quality, he said, this quality of stories just changed dramatically when people started doing this, because they didn't really have any clue of what they were doing. They just had story ideas. So it really helps a lot. We've had over 10,000 people take the course. And so it's been very, very successful. And we just keep on doing it, promoting it. And we'll have, I guess we'll keep on adding more judges to it as we move along here. But it's really important that, creativity, especially, as school budgets, education budgets, which has been going for some time, get less and less and less in the arts, having an ability to support people who want to be able to do their writing and do their art. And right now, with the world of AI happening too, we're very much pro creativity, human style, not AI style. So we're into that. AI can be used to, if you need something to help you if you're proofreading, that's great. Or if you need something to help you program how to collect up all your royalties and chase up anything you haven't gotten, that's great. But for writing the story, we're interested in Steve Stirling and Melissa and Bill and others use their creative juices to make it happen. So if you submit something with AI, and obviously you got people who try to game this stuff, but we work pretty diligently to suss it out. You get disqualified automatically for both writers and artists, because the contest is for creatives, people, not creative. I can do the best prompts. We're not interested in that with this contest.
Aren't there an article on writing, at least one in every volume too, if somebody wanted to get a good training course?
Each
book an article in this on how to write, or two?
Yeah. So in the current one, there's an article by Larry Niven on collaboration, and then there's one by Hubbard on artistic presentation, and there's also another one for the illustrator by Brian Hales called The Creator's Journey. So we have a couple, 2 or 3 how-to articles every year in a volume, which also gives you personal tips. And then obviously there's the Writers of the Future podcast, where I've interviewed. Steve's been on it before a couple of times. Bill's, you've been on it a couple of times. I just uploaded episode, I think 383 last night. So that in itself goes really well too, and provides lots of inspiration and tips, which is the original purpose of the Rise of the Future contest, as per that original essay that was written by Hubbard and published in volume 1 back there. And the first book came out in 1985. So we're 3/4 through year 43. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned collaborations, and I wanted to ask each of them, how do you guys pick your collaborators? I mean, besides the ones I brought Steve on this, or how do you pick if you're going to collaborate? Melissa, to start, could I ask that?
Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, authors, we love to talk about those ideas bouncing around in our head, and sometimes one of our friends is like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. What if this? What if that? And then you get that natural progression of, oh my God, we have a really good idea, and it's better than the original one of us had. It's freaking amazing. Let's write this. And that is how that's how Bronze Legion, the Bane series I'm writing with Jason Cordova started. He had an idea and it wasn't working, so he came to me and he's like, hey, can I talk through this with you? And I'm like, well, what about this, this, and this? And then he's like, yeah, no, that'll work. By the way, you're going to write this with me. And I'm like, cool. Okay. Twist my arm. So sometimes it's natural like that, where you're just BSing and you come up with something really cool and you get excited about it and you're like, yes, let's do this. And sometimes it's, hey, you want to co-write this really awesome space romance story with one of your literary heroes. And you go, yeah, I could totally do that. No problem.
You can blush now, Steve.
No, I don't blush.
I do.
Well, yeah, but you're a redhead.
This is true.
Yeah. Actually, one of my brothers was a redhead, freckled even.
Oh, I've got plenty of freckles.
He had to wear a T-shirt when we were living in Kenya, when he went into the ocean in Mombasa on the equator.
Thanks.
Yeah. Collaborations are very variable. I mentioned that Dave Drake did like really detailed outlines, and he did those for himself too. And he would use historical episodes like the life of Belisarius as the basis for a series. And McCaffrey just made stuff up on the fly.
Love it.
No.
I did some collaborations with Jerry Cornell once, and he phoned me up at 3:00 in the morning once to complain about something I'd done, and I calmed him down. But you know, it's every collaboration is unique.
Yes.
John, haven't we had a number of collaborations come out of the meetings of the various winners?
Yeah, that's one thing that's really good, that because we've had so many judges talking about collaboration and how to do it and how to be effective with it. Because we had Larry's done a couple articles, Sean Williams did an article about how to collaborate, and just talking at the workshop, this is something you can do. We've had several of our winners collaborate. That's one thing that's really nice about Writers of the Future, is that they make lifelong friends with. They've come from different parts of the world, because we've had winners from 52 countries now. So you've got these guys coming together, and they've never been in an environment with a lot of other writers. They've been by themselves in a room typing away, but not actually face to face with somebody. So now they're there with 12 other people or 11 other people, and they're just totally like, wow. And then they meet their illustrator who illustrated their work. And so some of them have, an artist now to do their next subsequent covers. And so it really builds up very nicely now that there's the internet, because in the first 20 years of the contest, you didn't have the internet. So that was the phones or letters. But now you've got people that can email, and they create their own mini forums that they just stay in communication and post on that. It's just, it creates lifelong relationships, which is really good too to have. And particularly with Writers of the Future, it's like we like PG-13. Sometimes it encroaches on PG-17, but we like to have that so it's appropriate for middle school on up. And people find out you can actually have great writing without having a bunch of sordid stuff, which is really nice. And that kind of like fits my own personal taste, I must admit.
Yeah, limitations can be liberating.
Yeah.
It's responsibility to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As an editor, we always have to look at that. Even if literarily something might make sense, if it's wrong for the reader, it's wrong for the book, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or at least that book. Put it in a different book, aimed at a different market.
Yeah, it could be a different market. But one thing that we tell people to do is, Rise of the Future is a market. And so you need to read the books to know what it is that we're looking for. And also, the people that are publishing there, up until this publication, were considered amateur. And now that they're publishing this is their first professional. So now they can be ranked as a professional. And that becomes kind of like the benchmark for how good you have to be to win the contest. So we always tell people, read the books, get the book and read it. You can see what the stories are like. You can see what the art is like to know how good you have to be. It doesn't mean you don't submit, but that's what you have to get up to. And some of these people entered, like the person that just posted, Julie Frost right now, who was the winner in volume 32. She entered 29 times before winning. So but you got to start somewhere and you keep on doing it. Mm-hmm. Kevin Anderson entered 17 times and then he disqualified himself by proing out. Rob Sawyer entered several times before he disqualified himself by proing out. So, but you just do it. Brandon Sanderson proed out early on. Fortunate for us, but it's something that again, it gets back to what we were saying earlier. A writer has to write. You just keep on doing that. And having that quarterly contest deadline, a lot of what people like is that, okay, I've got to write for this deadline. And it gives you that urgency and reason to finish and submit a story and then start the next one to get into that frame of mind to, you got to write. A writer writes.
Yeah, on a totally different subject. Melissa, what did you do when you was in the Air Force?
So I started out as pilot training, and
That's
it was fun. I got to fly the T6. I got to fly the T6 by myself, which was super cool. I got about halfway through pilot training before I was medically disqualified. So I got very lucky at that time. Most pilot trainees that washed out for various reasons were going to space and missiles, which meant you were going to Why Not, My Not in North Dakota. I did not want that. So I got very fortunate. I was retracked to airfield operations, where I got to be a certified air traffic controller, an airfield manager, and more than anything else, I got to handle alcohol incidents from the 100+ airmen that were under my command. So
joy.
and it was a lot of fun. It was an experience. So I got to do a lot of different things in the Air Force, and
that's cool. That's how I was. I was all over the place. They moved me all over. And that's how I started out. I was going in to fly, but they gave me a eye test. The guy said, well, if you want to fly cargo planes, you can do that. So I can't fly jets. He said, no. So we'll find something completely else to do. I ended up in advanced aviation. Well, I ended up in, technically, I ended up in special, what they call SPSP, which is form of special forces. In other words, if you're like a Green Beret soon, you get your ass in trouble, we the guys that come get you out of trouble. That's what our job. There's no name, no ranking, no nothing. But I did that, and I got sent out to the Nimitz in between training, and after that, I got promoted to an officer while I was on the Nimitz in the field. And it was just really weird after that. It was very strange. But anyway, got to do a lot of different stuff. It was a lot of fun. Got to blow up stuff too. That was fun.
Didn't you meet your husband in the Air Force?
I did. I went to one of my last base before I got out was Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in North Carolina. And that is the home of the F-15E Strike Eagle squadrons and schoolhouse. And I went there swearing I was not going to date a fighter pilot. I never said I wasn't going to marry one.
They hard to get away from them. They're bad boys. I've known a lot of them over the years. I mean, a lot of them. Matter of fact, every now and then they would invite the Air Force out to the bombing derby in Fallon, Nevada. So
I think I mentioned that two of my brothers were fighter pilots.
Yeah, see, he knows. So fighter pilots
became a bush pilot afterwards, flying up into the Canadian North.
Woo.
And he was flying up into the Labrador iron mines, and he heard a scream from back in the passenger compartment. So he pulled out the tire iron from under his seat, and he went back and he found that a party of Italian contract miners had been up there for 6 months during the winter, and they'd lit a fire in the aisle between the seats and were trying to assault the stewardess. So he had to lay a couple of them out.
That's the kind of job. So that's what happened to pilots. They can't get over it.
To St. Pierre and Miquelon, and apparently the senior air traffic controller in St. Pierre and Miquelon had been exiled from France and was taking to drink and blubbering over the microphone to the incoming pilots. So you had to fly along, and then there was this convection center where the fog cleared, and then you went down into that and then flew along the cliff and landed. And the senior air traffic controller would be blubbering to you all the time about how he'd been exiled from France.
That is some cartoon BS. I love it. Also really, really dangerous.
Yeah. Well, that's where he met my sister-in-law. She was a stewardess on the plane flying up to Labrador.
Putting out fires.
Apparently.
And belting people with tire irons.
I mean, girl's best friend is a tire iron. I'm just saying.
When I was going through my psych evaluation in the Navy, the guy was telling me, he said, Joe, they expect pilots to be X amount of crazy. You know that?
Yeah.
I said, yeah. I said, all the ones I know are legit crazy. All The Navy pilots are worse. Well, that's not true. The carrier pilots are worse because not everybody flies in a carrier.
Yeah, one of the benefits of being a professional soldier's son was that you got lots of travel, because we were shifted to new postings every couple of years. I was born in France because my dad was at a small Canadian air base there. And he told me once that he was down in Morocco looking for places for NATO air bases. This was in the early 50s. And they came back to their Jeep and their driver had his throat slit. He was lying there dead.
I never know what Steve's going to say next. This is amazing.
Yeah. But things like that happened all the time. And then he went into foreign aid when he got out of the Air Force. And, well, let's put it this way. The second year we were in Kenya, I heard that there'd been a fight in the gardener's quarters of the place next door. So I went over, and both the guys they drunk Nubian gin, which was by rumor distilled through old car radiators. And the bodies were outside under very red sheets. They'd hacked each other to death with pangas. And I went into the room where it had happened, and there were pools of blood on the floor and splashes of blood on the walls, and something fell on my head, and I looked up and I got a dollop of blood in my eyes, nose, and mouth.
That's how you become a zombie. Don't do that.
That's how a kid grows up in Steve's world.
Yeah, but it teaches you to that there is more to life than being a middle-class North American.
How's that reflected in your writing today, Steve?
Well, there's a certain amount of like graphic stuff in my writing, and it's mostly based on actual experience. Like, I walked past dead and dying famine victims when I was 10 years old. You could tell the difference between the dead and the dying because the dying's eyes tracked you inside these big circles of blue-black flies. So.
Why, hello, Melissa.
Hi.
I just wanted to see a dragon back there, people. I was just looking at a dragon.
Breaking up.
Melissa, how your sequel with Steve?
Come on. See, look at Bill. Bill's cute too. Look, see, look at Bill. Bill's cute. Look at this guy, man. I mean, come on. It's lucky I got the auto thing turned off. It usually just jumps on whoever it wants to. Now I was actually looking at your dragon. Is what I was looking at.
Oh, okay.
On the cover, because we got a lot of dragon people that I've met over the years with Writers of the Future. I mean, there was 4 dragon stories in book 42, and he looks cool.
Oh, yeah, So the cover artist for this was Pierluigi Abbondanza. He trained under Dan Dos Santos, and he is
Dan the man. Yeah,
phenomenal.
I love Dan. Dan is great.
One of our judges for Illustrations of the Future.
Dan is
award-winning. Is that an award-winning cover or just nominated?
That one was nominated.
Mm-hmm. How does your background reflected in your books? That one's in the air. You're doing Roman space. What's the title of that book going to be?
Rome to the Stars is affectionately called Space Romans, because at first I didn't know the title. So I'm like, Romans in space, Space Romans. It's great. I actually have it saved in a folder labeled Space Romans. But I have used different aspects of my military experience in everything I've written. Rise from Ruin, my Griffin Corps series, it was 100% about flying and losing that opportunity, right? So I know what it's like to fly. I know what it's like to lose that chance. And that's what Harper Tavros, the main character, went through there. With Space Romans, that was really, really cool, because I was Air Force. I don't know Navy. I don't know. And a lot of times when you are talking about mil sci-fi and space, it's based off of Navy. Yeah. So I got to do a lot of research and talk with people that I know that served on the bridge of a Navy ship, and kind of just extrapolate that and figure out, like, how would the Romans use that? And how do I justify using like common current mil sci-fi terms with Romans and not having that history? And I leaned a little bit on Steve's main character in the Alt History series, Artorius the War Wise. I thought he was just the coolest coolest character because he was an Army Ranger, right, Steve? That
Yeah.
was what he was before he became a professor.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, he knows a lot of stuff for modern history, modern military. And in the second book that Steve wrote, he was helping out with the Roman Navy, the fledgling Roman Navy. And I'm like, I got it. He wrote the book. He literally wrote the book on modern Roman Navy tactics. And that's how I was able to bring that forward into something that is technically an alt history mil sci-fi setting. So it was a lot of fun getting to lean into that.
Yeah. Romans adopted everything that was useful to them.
Yes.
And if you show them an organization that works, they go, cool, let's do it.
Yep. And it was a lot of fun getting to, so the setting with the Mill Sci-Fi series, the Future series, is that like, it's my favorite trope, you guys. When Bill told me about it, I legit squealed like a little girl. It is that humans are out there. Like humans were taken from Earth by an alien species and scattered everywhere. And there's a fallen empire and there's scattered tech like freaking treasure. And I'm like, the Romans would have gone nuts for that. Like, oh, cool. There's this neat little thing over here that we can use and we can develop. Yoink, that's ours now. So getting to play with that was, I'm still cackling over it. It was so much fun.
It's fun to watch writers. At the last Writers of the Future ceremony and training session, we had a doctor and an architect, and it was amazing the things that they could talk about. They weren't young. I mean, some of the winners were in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
But that doctor, I was reluctant to give him writing advice because he's a successful surgeon, for Pete's sake. But he wants to retire from it and become a full-time writer now.
He has got so many fans. He's doing so well. He ended up with about 5,000 names, and he has people coming into his office because he bought his first 20 books and he bought another 20 books. People would come to his office. He'd send out a text saying, okay, I want to be at this bookstore. I just got published. It just released. They come to his office to buy a book and have him sign it there in his office. You know, he's having so much fun but what's really cool, he's got already an email list of 5,000 people that are interested in him as a writer and following along as he continues his career, which he's off to a really good start now because he has that base of.
He's got that tool that he could sell them, yeah.
Exactly.
With him in it.
That's awesome.
Is that something you did? So when you got started, what about you on social media or your public appearance? How have you dealt with that?
Okay. I would like to point out the word you used a few seconds ago, fun. And I wholeheartedly believe that there's so much that goes into this, y'all. Like there is the writing, which 100% fun. We'll never farm out. That is the joy, right? But then there's the marketing and there's the social media and there's the conventions. Find a way to have fun with every single one of those steps because it's a lot and it's time consuming. And if you don't find what works for you that brings you some kind of joy, then it's going to be not fun. And then your writing will reflect that. So I am ridiculous on the internet dang near every day. I have fun doing reels on Instagram and God help me, I'm now on TikTok, but Facebook, X, I basically just post the same thing everywhere.
He's overcome her shyness.
Oh, yes.
Evidently.
Very, very.
She hardly looks the demure girl look.
The Air Force taught me how to fake being an extrovert a long time ago. I do need to recharge like an introvert does, but like Dragon Con, I love it. It's amazing. I have a blast. I had a blast as a fan. I have a blast as an attending pro. I'm brain dead for about a week afterwards, like full stop. But you got to find a way to have fun with all of this.
Yeah.
So, and one of the ways I got started, you guys, shared universes are, I don't know how relatively new they are, but CKP was really big on those. They had the Four Horsemen universe, they had the Salvage Title universe, and that comes with a built-in audience. So you have
1982. The first three shared universes were Heroes in Hell, Thieves' World, and The Fleet.
Thank you.
They all came out from Ace Urbane, and that's started in 84.
And the
That's
great
how old
thing
they are.
is built-in audience.
Yeah, that's when I published my first novel. I wrote it in law school, so it's full of hatred and violence. My mother wanted me to go to law school as a fallback, but oh God. The guy I articled with, that's an apprenticeship thing you do in Canada. He had 4 disbarment proceedings against him simultaneously. Yeah. He once got a guy off who assaulted a retarded cleaning lady in front of 4 nuns. Because he discovered an 1832 law stating that you had to be witnesses had to be directly observing what they testified on, and looking through a window wasn't directly observing. So they called the provincial legislature into special session and repealed that statute that he found from 1832.
That's good. But anyway. Well, this isn't a discussion about the ethics of
Lawyering, yeah.
lawyering. Yes. But anyway, so this is a great book. Wow. What's this? Rise of the Future, Volume 42. Wow. Can I buy it?
I think this one's free, people. You better snatch it. Look, I put it on all my social media pages yesterday, all but 2 of them. So
Yeah.
better
So
go find it.
this is a story that's in Rise of the Future, Volume 42. And so you go ahead and the link's in. So where does this link, Joe?
It's on. I just posted it to all of our live broadcast media right here, but it's also on all the social media pages, Facebook, and Twitter, and a whole bunch of them.
So if you go to any of those pages and click on this, you can get that story. You can download it for free. It'll cost you an email address. So we're going to try to get you to get the whole book. But right now, you can get this story, which is an amazing story that you can get for free. That's published in the current volume of L. Ron Hubbard Presents Rise of the Future, Volume 42. And it also just released, for those of you listening globally, because I think we've got about 5 million people listening to us right now. So it's also, you can find it in South Africa, in Australia, New Zealand, throughout UK, Canada, and the United States, where the book is now released globally. And you can find it online, also, obviously on Amazon, everywhere you go. But the book is out there. And you get this story for free by just clicking that link.
Very cool.
Jack, the 99-cent ebook. Is it still available?
No, the 99-cent ebook is not available. That's off now. But this story here is free.
Yeah, so this one's free. No, that was only up for. I told y'all when it was up, take advantage of it. People, you should learn to listen.
Yeah.
Don't be lazy. Don't be hesitating around. I think you got 5 years to do something.
I think the ebook now is like $9, but it's still the cost of like a fancy Starbucks or 2 regular lattes or whatever.
I say for our listeners, it should be $12 since you didn't buy it when it was 99 cents. God.
Yeah, well, out of the goodness of our heart, we're just making it that price. So
John's nicer than I am. Y'all know that. I'm just charging y'all a fee. Michael, that is true. Real quick, this has nothing to do with this show, but using the flip side, if you're a YouTube follower, you will have to pay to watch it in the member section. So you can still watch it free other places. Just if you're going to watch it on YouTube, you'll have to be a member to watch it. It has more to do with we do a lot of hardcore news, and sometimes it's easily to offend YouTube. So I'd rather not deal with the strikes and stuff like that. So it's now officially a member show. So there you go. Anyway, enough about all that. Go get the story, read the story, write to me. Let me know how you got the story is. By the way, Loretta Marietta won the lightsaber. And where the hell was she from? British Columbia, Canada. So we gave away a lightsaber the other day. Something John was giving away. I forgot what it was now. But anyway, that was the winner. She won $1,000 Cairo lightsaber. It's the red one with the big gloves.
I don't think the mic picked it up, but I swear my son across the house just shouted, "Lightsaber? What?" He is obsessed.
Well, we give away. So you're a guest, so you can actually still qualify. None of us can, but every Christmas we give away anywhere. I think the least amount we've given away is 22. The most is 4 lightsabers every year. It's a company out of England gives them away. and they send them directly from them to you. We never even see them.
You
But
met them at Fanex, Salt Lake.
Yeah, Salt Lake
4 years ago.
I was actually sword shopping because I got my sword collection in the hallway next to us. So when the apocalypse come and the dead people are running all over, I got my swords ready to go. But anyway, I ran into this guy and I was going to buy one. And he said something to me, and he said, "What are you doing here?" I told him what I was doing, and who I was. He said, "Oh, well, let me just give you one." He said, "I'll give you this one, and I'll send you this one." And he said, "Let's work out something." I told him to give away a lot of books, if he was interested during the holidays. And he said, "Can we give away some lightsabers?" I was like, "Sure." Like, yeah, I'm sure people kill for them things. But he told me the last couple of years, he's for every lightsaber. Last year he gave away $27,000 lightsabers. He made 65 off of giving. He said most people, as soon as they get one, order one or two more. He said, I don't think they realize how real they sound. You get them, and how real they feel. You know? I was like, oh, okay. But they run anywhere. If it's Star Wars, the cheapest one you're going to probably get is going to be around $300. If it's just an everyday lightsaber, one like this, I think they said these were about 180 or something. And they got ones that don't make noise that are like 100. But whatever you do, if you've got kids, if you buy one, you make sure they put the fighting blade on. Because if not, it comes with a really pretty glass blade. And this poor thing has hit the ground more times than I can even keep counting. So if it was glass, it would be toast. So no, the girl actually sold to him. She said, "Do you want me to switch blades for you?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She said, "Yeah, they got a fighting blade because there's competitions." I'm like, "What? There's lightsaber competition?" I knew none of this, man. I was stunned.
So cool.
So I got education on lightsabers, but it's very nice. They do give them away. The Kylo Ren one is still the most expensive and the second most sought after. I think right now, Master Windu is the one thing. The purple.
Legit. I want a purple one. I'm just saying.
They're pretty completely out there. What do you mean? Do they give me something for plugging them? Yeah, they give me a bunch of lightsabers to give away every year. Of course they do.
Now, one thing I just like to quickly segue over to Bill, because when we last interviewed, you had this military fiction in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And the only thing that was science fiction about it, which scared the living bejesus out of me, which is that near future military science fiction is always pretty scary, is the only thing that was science fiction about was the batteries.
Yeah. Took the DARPA super suit. By the way, Melissa wrote volume 4 in it.
Oh, okay.
She killed off the husband of the hero.
The boyfriend. I didn't kill the husband. Just
they got married. They got married. And he died.
No time
I can't believe you did that.
Oh, she's vicious. She's vicious. Red hair.
Oh man, cruel
Anyhow.
heart.
Very nice.
And yeah, right.
Everybody says I'm very nice.
Yeah, the DARPA had the super suit project, and there's a fabric that firms up when it's hit by something solid that was actually invented by an Air Force cadet in Colorado Springs, and DARPA's worked on that. And the only thing that they needed to make it work was a battery, because it was a great suit. They could defend it. It could carry 800 pounds. It could run 40 miles an hour. But you had to have an extension cord on it because the battery lasted 2.5 minutes that you could carry on it. It was 40 pounds because it used so much power up. So we had a brilliant scientist who is sort of an Elon Musk of batteries, and he lived with the Kurds. So he helped them to buy the old DARPA suits and then create their own with a battery that made it work. And the only other finagle we put on it, not the automatic weapons that'll work, the gun ranging, the automatic sights, they're all techs that we have now, some of which we're using and not talking about now, is the arm-loaded anti-tank missile was a little much, but then I had to do something. That's the only thing. But yeah, you could...
We had the railgun too, right?
Yeah, the rail guns exist. It's just they aren't small enough to fit on your arm. About 4 foot's the smallest one. And we did that with bigger suits in the later volumes. Casey, that she was talking about earlier, co-authored 2 books with me on it, and then she and Casey did the 4th, with the vicious killing of the husband and other things. And
oh man, I can't believe she did that. Anyway,
yeah. Anyhow,
and I was so looking forward to a long and beautiful relationship with another author. Oh well.
Okay, I would just like to point out that not only did Casey Morris make me write I love that character. He made me write the death scene. Then he made me write the death scene from the bad guy's POV. I had to kill him twice.
and you were really good at it too, which shows something. But it's the Kurds.
Your hair.
It's the Kurds versus the Iranians, and literally, we're arming the Kurds right now to give trouble to the Iranians. So, little prescient, I guess.
Yeah.
And the Iranians are the bad guys, so it's very satisfying to read. Blood and Armor, first one's called Never Again, and there's 4, and I'll plug them, no problem. And you can find them on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, you can find it on Kindle Unlimited too.
Good. No, I really enjoyed the first story. Like I said, just that's the kind of stuff that scares me more than anything, knowing that technology is there, except for the batteries. And at some point, the battery problems are going to be solved. They've got this, they're making a lot of strides on this stuff, and who knows what's going to happen when the AI gets enough to be able to create and come up with different ways of solving things. That it's going to be a fait accompli pretty soon.
In fact, even talking to the couple of the guys who tested it, which I had the opportunity to do just for about 10 minutes, and the most notable thing they noticed about it was how badly it chafed when it was moving for any length of time. It was everywhere that the suit moved against you, your skin got rubbed.
Yeah.
And we include that in the book. We have some very unhappy people in the early prototypes.
Sure.
Very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would make them like vicious, irritating your skin.
Oh, very cranky Kurds, yes.
Yes. So, Joe, if you like, I know you like near future science fiction, that's something that I definitely recommend you
Thank you.
check out.
I'm always looking for something good.
Never again.
And I keep up on all the weapons, because we can geek out seriously on some weapon shows sometimes. I mean, poor John had to leave one day. We geeked out so bad. He was like, "Why are these idiots talking?" It was just pure. Let's blow some shit up. That's what it was.
When I do near future science fiction, I always slip in something that makes it an alternate history, because you can't predict the future.
Well, that's true too.
It just doesn't work.
Well, one of my favorite things is to go back and look at the World Fair at 1900 and come back and look at the World Fair in 2000, just to see how close or how far off they were about the future. I still don't have my freaking flying car, so I'm still a little hacked off about that.
We're getting close.
Yeah, no. It's not a Jetson flying car. Jetson flying car folds up into a suitcase and you can walk away with it. That's my flying car.
That was pretty
I
cool.
want my transformer car. And then on top of that,
Actually,
microwave oven.
they've got
As a kid, I went to Future World at Disneyland.
Yeah.
None of it was right. None of it was right.
That's true. What were you saying, Steve?
But it was fascinating at the time.
It was. Just none of it was
And
right.
I do want my flying car too. That's one of the 2 promises society has failed me on. The other one was blowing me up. I mean, duck and cover in the 50s as a kid, 60s, we knew where the world was going to blow up. If I'd have thought we were going to last this long, I'd have behaved a lot better in the 60s and 70s. I got to tell you.
See, we didn't worry about it because they always said the Russians wouldn't blow up.
Oh, that was it. I figured at 40, I'll be radioactive dust. I can take that. I can do that. I can take that risk. I can break that bone.
Well, they get back to this duck and cover. I hear the schools want to start practicing drills in case China wants to blow us up. I don't think they
What kind of drills you're going to practice? It's like at this point, it becomes so ridiculous. I remember all the times getting on the alarms that go off. This was in Tucson, Arizona, and you climb under your desk, and you hold on. Okay, here we are. I'm preparing for, the big bomb going off. Is like, wow.
Ooh, I got a friend of mine writing a new book about it.
Actually, though, that can work if you're far enough away from ground zero.
What they learned at Hiroshima was most of the deaths came from the radioactive blast and the radiation and the heat coming out. So if you duck and cover, it will protect you from that if you're on the edge.
My dad was in a trench 1.8 miles from ground zero of a fusion bomb explosion in 1957. And Yeah, he actually had a free watch from a watch store in Ottawa, and he put it up on the edge of the trench and then turned around and covered his face, and he could see his bones clearly through the flash, and the watch did not survive. So that they refused to give him a free one because he couldn't say that it survived a nuclear explosion.
I got to see 3 detonations when I was in the Navy. All 3 of them were impressive. But I'll tell you what was more impressive. I watched them drop one in Bikini Atoll over about a dozen ships, and it didn't sink one ship. Big old massive ass bomb, about 5 times the power horse, and didn't even sink one. But it melted them into balls, basically, so that nobody was getting in or out of it. So if you were in there, you was basically inside of an oven now, buddy, and you was cooking. I mean, you could see the water boiling around the ships, but they still were afloat. It was very strange and very creepy to watch. And then we watched them detonate on one on the left side of the island, which just blew the whole top of the island. There was nothing left. Everything was gone, but it just a mud flat.
Mm-hmm.
You can scuba bikini, and the ships look like they're out of an Escher painting.
Yeah, well, they've cleaned up a lot of. The U.S. government made them take all the topsoil off the islands and replace it all. And, took a lot of other stuff out, but still, I don't know. They dropped a few nukes. I be a little careful. And we went to a site in somewhere in the desert where they had launched one. So when you stand there, you can't really tell what it did. But when you go stand on the mountain next to it, you realize that what was a valley is now just a massive hump, about a mile tall. It was crazy looking. That's what happened when they detonated the one in the salt dome. It made like a bubble. And it bubbled up a half a mile before it stopped. They were scared it was going to pop through the surface. I'm just glad we don't blow them up anymore.
The Russians detonated a 70 megaton one, if I remember correctly.
It was a big one. I remember that. I remember they were touting it as the planet buster at the time until George Bush detonated that. Thing that was supposed to be a planet buster. There was something they built they were going to use. They said they built it so if an asteroid was coming here, we could split it in half or deflect it. Okay, maybe, whatever. Actually, from what I understood about this particular missile, if you dropped it over Moscow, it would flatten the entire city for 18 miles in a complete direction. Yeah. So that's a serious bomb, because most of what you hear when you hear nukes, most nukes that would hit New York would flatten about 2 miles and then irradiate about another 10 miles. And then depending on the wind after that would determine who was going to die from that point forward. But,
have you ever seen that cartoon? It shows a dinosaur chipping a flint axe and looking up and seeing the asteroid landing.
Oh, that's a good one. I've actually seen that. It's they got new stuff about the asteroid now. Some new thing came out about the 5 great extinctions and why they actually happened. And why did they no longer think that the asteroid was the thing that completely wiped out any of the dinosaurs? I was like, I can understand part of their view on this. Part of the view, I'm just kind of like, but I mean, I'm a geek. I got a bachelor's in science. I can't help myself. But if it's science, I want to look at it, and watch it, and be involved in it.
Well,
one thing that you said about the extinction thing, there's a story in this year's volume called The Triceratops Effect. And it's based on the premise, there's the art for it there, by Sean Stevenson in UK, is that it was actually a made-up story that it was an asteroid because of time travelers. They'd go back in time and they would hunt the dinosaurs, and they hunted them to extinction. And this was the last dinosaur, was this Triceratops. So they had to fake by digging in this big trench and exploding all these atomic bombs to simulate the fact that there was an asteroid that came and destroyed it, so that that fake type thing, because they'd all been extincted because of time travelers going back and as hunters and hunting them all to extinction. So that was his story about the asteroid. It was all fake because you're having to cover up the time travelers.
Yeah,
all a conspiracy. I love it.
Yeah.
As someone who had to live with that volume coming together, this is one of the good ones, by the way. It's got a great range of stories. Jody her hardest part was picking the top 12 because there were a lot of good stories this year.
Yeah, which is great. It's getting more and more like that as the contest grows in as it matures and people submitting and keep on working. It gets better and better and better each year what they have to deal with.
Mhm.
And Joe, can you pull that freebie up again, just so that we can make before we have to end off here, so that we can let people know that they can get this story for free to get a taste of what's in this book, and hopefully from there we'll decide to get the book. But it's a great offer. This is free. Just go to this link, which is on any of the pages right now, and you can get this story for free. And then you can find out how to get the rest of the book there as well, once you get a taste of what kind it is. Because I can promise you that you will find your next favorite author or authors in this book. It's all over the place. You don't write to a theme in this anthology. It's just best in creativity. And that's what you've got. That's why the judges we have, which are some of the biggest names in science fiction and fantasy, are the ones selecting who they find as the best new voices. It's not who I think is, it's who they decide are the best new voices in science fiction and fantasy. And that's why they're always such amazing books, and why we always win so many awards as we submit them now for the next round of awards for 2026. We'll win multiple awards as the best, either anthology, best science fiction, or best fantasy, or best short story, or all the above there with this book.
Speaking of voices, isn't the audiobook out now?
It is, and that was Stefan Rudnicki wanted to. He's a two-time Grammy award-winning producer, and himself is a golden voice of audiobooks, and has several other great voices as part of it. Jim Meskimen being one of them, who had voiced previous books. But we've got, I think, a half a dozen voices narrating this audiobook, and it is so good. So you can also get the audiobook, the ebook, or the trade paperback. They're all available. You can go to Amazon.com. You can go to Barnes & Noble. All your independent bookstores will carry it or have access to it if they don't have it in stock right away, but it's there available for everybody. And if you're in Canada, we got it there. In South Africa, in Australia, you can get it wherever you buy your books, UK. So please go ahead and take advantage of this. And if you like it, we have more of these ebooks that we can do in subsequent shows here. But take advantage of this free offer.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't find it, for some reason, it's on all the YouTube pages.
Okay, great.
It's also on my personal Facebooks, ads, and stuff like that. I posted it yesterday.
And it's on Amazon too.
It's on Amazon. So you can get it. You can get it wherever you want. And, the links are up. Just go click on it. Go. It's that easy. Put in your email. Go. Was that, Jeremy? You're going to use your alternative email? Whatever. Just put your damn email in and get the book. Go.
Yeah.
I have more emails than the average person does. Let's just leave it at that. I have more social media. Come on, I got 44 social media pages. I think I got a few emails. Since each social media has to have its own email. Think about that. Plus the stations and all that wonderful stuff. So we like to keep up with it. Jeremy, just go get it. Click the link. Here, I'll put it back in the. Look, it's going to print back on YouTube right now. Watch this great magic to everybody watching out there in the world. Click. If you're watching on Roku today, which I know y'all are welcome on Roku and Fire Sticks and Apple and Samsung and Google, welcome to the network. You will have to go you know what I'll do? I'll go put it on the website when we get off in a few minutes.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
You go to UPR and talkradio.com. I mean, you can pop over to YouTube. Once it's in the YouTube chat, we'll be there for life. So anytime, as long as they have it optional, you can go in there and get it. Or you just type in Joe Montalvo, United Public Radio, and hop over to one of our many social media pages and grab it off there. Anyway.
Great. Thank you very much for that, Joe. And I'm just curious now. So starting girls first. So Melissa, what's a good intro book for someone who's not familiar with you with your writing? What do you recommend a person read to discover you as an author?
If you like fantasy, I 100% recommend Rise from Ruin. The sequel comes out from Bane, Tempered by Fire. It will be out, holy crap, in 30 days, more or less, on June or July 7th. So if you like Dragon Riders, maybe a little post-apocalyptic in your fantasy and definitely some military action, go check out Rise from Ruin. And if you like a little bit more the sci-fi side, I've got Bronze Legion, To Tread Obsidian Shores with Jason Cordova, because we like our titles pretentious over here. We just finished dev edits on the sequel, so you check
Well, I
those
just noticed your fingernail polish matches your top. How cool is that, man?
Yeah.
You're styling big time. You're like totally
I'm impressed.
above everybody else.
Wait. What just
Oh,
no,
the really cool thing, y'all, with this nail polish is it matches the cover for Tempered by Fire because, again, Pier Luigi Abbondanza, y'all, so freaking amazing.
Well, that's good.
You know, Jack, that is a Griffith doofus in front of us. Right? Yeah. Anyway. Yes, look, she's gonna show. She's gonna show you.
Oh, of course I am, because this cover is
This is a badass cover.
It's gorgeous. My main character, please note that she wanted to be a dragon rider, and y'all, she's not on a dragon.
So,
Griffin.
so both me and Jimmy, we dumbasses. So you
But
see,
she is a redhead.
when you're looking at the dragon in the wing behind you, but when he's on the wall over there, it looks like a horn coming out of his head, not a wing. I was like, so you put it up here, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough of that. That's what you call a dumbass. What you call that?
One of them famous unicorn dragons.
Yes, exactly. And then, Bill, for you, what do you recommend for someone who's not familiar with your writing?
Either
Fiction.
100 Mistakes That Changed History if you want nonfiction and a humorous thing. It's 100 Mistakes That Changed History, or Never Again, the first of the 4 Blood and Armor. The advantage if you find Never Again out there by me is that you continue to read them, and the 4th book is by Melissa.
Good. That's one we talked about, right?
Yes, that's the
Okay, good
last
podcast. Yes. And then Steve, what's a good intro for you?
Well, I always think the latest series is the best, so you can read To Turn the Tide.
I also like our first interview was on that. Was it Black something, or she was a spy, or it was a
No, Black Chamber. That was
Black
a
Chamber.
spy series set in an alternate early 20th century, and Island in the Sea of Time, where in Nantucket, where I went with my bride for my honeymoon, is transported back to the Bronze Age.
So I mean, I like that first one you said there, the Black Chamber.
Black Chamber, yes.
I really liked that. That was way cool. But anyway, so maybe I'm jaded on whatever, but I really like that one a lot.
Who's this picture about behind you? What night is that?
Oh, that was picked up by my my wife at a convention.
I was just curious. I had seen it back then. I'm a big fan of big pictures to start off with, but I was just curious to what it was when I zoomed in on it. It's we have 12-foot ceiling, so we don't put little pictures on the wall. We only put pamphlets on the wall. Because it doesn't look right when you have a small picture on a 12-foot wall. It just doesn't work that way. But so anytime we find stuff like that, we put it in. And when I can back any illustrators, I got a lot of friends that are illustrators too, so I like to help them until they get to be rich and famous.
And then for anybody that's not familiar or doesn't know about it, you can enter the Writers of the Future contest or Illustrators of the Future contest. Right now, we're in June, and so this is the last month in the 3rd quarter of year 43. So the end of June is the end of this quarter. So you can submit to the Writers of the Future or the Illustrators of the Future. It's free to enter. You go to writersofthefuture.com and you can submit your story or your art. Like I said, you maintain your rights to the story or the art. It's judged blind, so the contest administrator assigns a number to your art or to your story, and that's what goes out to the judges. And you'll hear within about a month after the end of the quarter. Is how long it takes, usually about a month for once the quarter is over, to be able to get the results, which is in most competitions and most editors, that's just unheard of. Nothing turns around that fast. So that's something that's really good too, so that you can get the story and send it out again to other places, or you get feedback and you can make the corrections and resubmit.
Pete
And you can submit a different one the next quarter. You can't submit one a quarter.
Bill, this guy's writing in. His name's Pete Quest. He wants to know what Jody's favorite chocolate is. When he submits his book, he's going to submit some chocolate.
It's one of her weaknesses, cats and chocolate.
Yeah, you see, there you go, man. There you go. Some cat kitchen on some good chocolate.
There's multiple other chocolate lovers on the way to Jody, so
she'll take the chocolate, but she won't know which story is his, so it won't do any good.
That's right. That's how it works.
Right?
It's you can try, man. What can I tell you? But I don't think it's gonna help you out any. Who was I was telling it? Somebody kept bugging me about getting invited to the gala. I said, just don't make it $1 million donation, and John might let you go. I should have better yet make $1 million donation to Emily. She might talk you into letting you go. That's not going to happen. It's just not the way it's set up. Submit. You can't win. Again, I said this. John gave me $1 every time I said this. I'd be double retired. If you don't submit, you can't win. It's really what it comes down to. And it's more than just winning the contest, because it's the connections you're going to make. And it's not even just like you're going to make the connections for the week. First off, your fellow winners, you're going to probably make lifelong connections with. But a lot of these judges connect with the winners, and they keep connected with them, and they help them out through their careers. I've watched this now for 7-8 years now, and it's amazing to me how many of them pay back or pay forward, however you want to say it.
I've been referring illustrators to game companies for several years now. They're getting published, especially black and white work.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of help from established authors when I was just starting out, and I like to pay it forward.
and
I'll do.
it works great. Besides that way, I get some damn good sci-fi. Besides that, look, y'all, I'm still bored from COVID. Okay, I have not recovered. I have watched so much sci-fi during COVID. I just can't find anything hardly new to watch. It's making me crazy, or read for that matter. Because half the stuff somebody sent me, I'm like, okay, we go put this in my barn, fire out my yard, and just keep walking.
I'll make a personal appeal. Write a good story, send it in so my wife can read it and be in a good mood that evening.
That's
When she
right.
finds a good story, it makes her happy.
That's right.
There we
So
go.
I might get some
So
jobs.
send in your good stories.
I'll
People.
do it.
I need
Actually,
them.
we went Happy Jody.
If you have to live with me, you need extra help.
His wife still holds the record for a single interview on this show on this network. I think it's
Most
well,
viewers, yeah.
Yeah,
Which
so
is great.
she's well, there was a lot of material in that interview. I mean, there was a lot of good stuff in it. Not just for getting into Writers of the Future, but if you wanted to be a good author, there was just a lot of good material in it.
Yeah.
We talked about several other authors that day as well. I mean, she knows her way around all of y'all pretty well. So, and she's an easy interview. You know, she does it. She's relaxed. She's comfortable, and she knows what she wants to say, which is nice.
Jody Lynn Nye.
Yeah.
She's
So
amazing.
because sometimes when I ask people questions, it's like, well, Joe, people don't understand 3 seconds sounds like forever when you're live. 10 seconds sounds like, oh my God, what happened to the network? Did it die or something? If you go 30 seconds, people are calling in and going, what the hell's going on? It's kind of weird. No, she was a really, really good interview. And Steve's been on with us several times. He's always good. Bill's just fun to talk to, and then Bill sends me some unique guests sometimes, which I appreciate, because he knows I like anything weapons. So it's somebody asked me how come I didn't volunteer to go. I ran a 6. I'm too old. They won't let me. They're like, no, you're too old. Stay out of trouble. Don't go over there and cause trouble.
Yeah. John made a point, and I think I'd pointed out, why are all these authors? I've been working with this program as a sort of a consultant for decades. Why do we do it? Like what Steve said. When I got started, Dave Drake, Jerry Purnell, and McCaffrey all helped me get started, helped me to become a better writer, helped me to get into the business. I ended up mostly as an editor. We pass it forward. That's what it's all about. And this contest is a wonderfully structured way to let us help do that.
Thank you. Yeah. It's
Behind every great author there's a great editor. Let's be honest.
A frustrated editor. But anyhow,
I know we got to get out of here because I still got another show
He
coming up.
was a good editor,
But
and he has lots of ideas too.
that's a plus. See, an editor and I did. Well, that could be a plus and a bad. You give me both actually. Because some authors don't take well to interfering with their stories. I've noticed over the years, and some of them do not like to be criticized either. By the way, just
Yeah.
an outside note. I had an author ask me something one night, and I said, "I'm not going to answer." They said, "Why?" I said, "Because I can tell you the kind of person that don't like to be criticized, and that part of that story is really, really bad."
Joe, bring that up at the next gala, and I'll tell you stories I'm not going to put on the air.
Oh, I don't blame you for that. Yeah, we'll talk about it when we're down.
great. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for attending. Very nice meeting you, Melissa. And thanks. Good seeing you again, Bill and Steve. And I look forward to seeing you in Atlanta in a couple months.
See you at Dragon Con.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see
I'll have a
Dragon
booth
Con.
there. Come by.
Oh, good. Yeah. And I will too. And then I'll be sending out invitations for our judges dinner in the next week or so we can make sure hopefully I can get while the dance card's still open.
Well, I know, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to United Public Radio and the Authors Quill. Of course, like I say every week, if you do have a moan, groan, gripe,
Wow.
or a bitch, feel free to
There's
ring
one
the
thing
shop.
us authors like, it's a
Right.
free meal.
Yeah.
Free meal. Anyway, guys and girls, we will, don't forget the chat will be coming on in about 45 minutes, so there'll be a little on the crazy side of things. I think they've been pent up or something. I'm not sure what's going on. And then Pittsburgh boys are strange. But on that note, we're going to go. Thanks again to everybody who was here with us. Steve, Bill, Melissa. Nice having y'all on here. Had a great time. John's always great. So, what's that, Kirby? No, just click on the link. It takes you right there. It's that simple. Click link, click on thing, put your email in, get your reward.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like a reward punishment kind of thing. Anyway, good night, everybody. Oh, Lord.